Hello, hello. Oh my goodness, what a weekend. When I got up today, I didn't know whether it was Saturday or Sunday. I didn't know what time. I said to Luke, "What is today?" Then I'm like, "Wait, it is Sunday," but it didn't feel like Sunday. I I am so discombobulated this weekend. And then what did I do? I didn't get any of the packing or the invoicing or anything done. So if you're waiting for that, I'm very sorry to say I did not get that done. I did go on a really long walk with the dogs. Then I came back. Didn't spin it. Well, no, Jimmy and I made a stir fry. Then I spun. And what else did I do? Cleaned up some stuff, had to take care of some phone calls, and that's about it. Tomorrow I have to try to replant those tomato things and, oh my gosh, get some stuff done that I need to get done with some of my electronic equipment and get my car appointment in for the inspection I need, because that's going to expire April 30th, and I've got a bunch of things to do. But I feel like, wow, I was running. It's been just crazy. And I don't know what else. What else did I groom the dogs a little bit? Let's see. And there were some other things I did, but I can't remember. But tomorrow's another day with the trial, and it's going to start before we know it. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that happened this weekend in true crime. So we'll talk about that. Hi, Julie W. Hi, Jeannie's talking about life. Jeannie, I see your membership just fine. Ann Rose, Lisa L. Hi, Pamela Patrick. Lisa L. We missed you at the auction last night. Chris Ree, Deborah Vancouverden, Nicole L, Lisa, Julie W, I said, right? James Gipper. Let's see. Margot, special needs mom. Let me see. I'm sorry if I missed anybody. You weren't feeling good? Are you feeling better? Sharon. Okay. And Granny Potato, I didn't get your information, and you said you wanted those chickens last night. So you really need to send me your information so that I can figure out the shipping and stuff, and otherwise I'm just going to put them through in the next auction. All right, let's see. And I'm sorry that I'm not on camera. I am just, after spinning, I was just like, forget it. not gonna even, I have to take a shower. I'm just not doing it right now. I'm just too exhausted to go get fixed up just to take a shower again. Not doing it. All right. So this was a Sweet 16 in Alabama, and it didn't end in a sweet way. Alabama authorities confirmed Sunday evening that 4 people had died, 28 more were wounded in a mass shooting at a Sweet 16 birthday celebration that occurred Saturday night in Dadeville. They provided no information about a suspect or suspects and did not take questions at a news conference. Gunfire erupted at the celebration held at Mahogany Masterpiece Dance Studio at about 10:30 p.m. 4 fatalities were confirmed early Sunday, but authorities said that a multitude of people were injured. Dadeville is a small town of about 3,200 people. It's about 60 miles northeast of Montgomery. Sergeant Jeremy Burkett of the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency said most of the victims were young people but did not provide a breakdown on their ages. He also asked for information from the public. We've got to have information from the community, he said. Even if you think it's minor, we absolutely need you to share it. Information can be shared with ALEA at 800-392-8011 or through the Central Alabama Crime Stoppers 833-AL1-STOP. Mike Seagrass, the district attorney of Alabama's 5th Judicial District, said that his office has activated victims and witness services available through the office website at 5thcircuitda.org. While officials have not released the names of the victims, the Alexander City Outlook reported that 2 of the fatalities were Dadeville High School seniors, Phil Dowdle and Kiki Smith. Dowdle was a star football player who had committed to attending Jacksonville State University next year, and the party was for his sister's 16th birthday. A third victim was identified as Saya Collins. Lake Martin Community Hospital treated 15 teenage patients for gunshot wounds Saturday night, and a spokesperson, Heidi Smith, said on Sunday said 6 of those were treated and discharged. The remaining 9 were transferred to another hospital for a higher level of care. 4 of those were stable. 5 were critical when they were transferred, but she had no information about their condition since. Very crazy stuff. Sweet 16 ending like that. Really crazy. And then Oregon, another tragedy. An Oregon police officer was shot and killed Saturday night after pursuing a suspect through the town of Nyssa. District Attorney Dave Goldthorpe said that Corporal Joe Johnson, who's 43, responded to a call of concern regarding a violent individual damaging property and threatening others. When he arrived, he learned that the suspect, identified as 36-year-old Rene Castro, fled the scene in a vehicle. And officer quickly launched into pursuit. Castro stopped his vehicle not far from the home where the call originated. Immediately upon making the stop, the suspect, who was armed, began shooting at Officer Johnson. There was no time to return fire before a fatal hit to Officer Johnson. EMTs and the county sheriff's department was already en route. They arrived quickly, but Johnson was pronounced dead. Castro is still on the run. Johnson was a reserve officer with the Nyssa Police Department since 2018. His regular job was as a behavioral health specialist at Snake River Correctional Institution in Ontario, where he had worked since 2007, beginning as a corrections officer. Very unsettling, but it gets worse, okay? And this guy reminds me of the guy that Sandra Bullock used to be with. I don't know why, he just does real fast. A Minnesota sheriff's deputy was shot and killed Saturday when he was responding to a domestic call in Cyrus. Pope County Deputy Josh Owen died on his 44th birthday. His father, Dan Owen, said in a Facebook post 2 other law enforcement officers, Owen's partner, Brody Merrill, and a Starbuck officer who has not been identified, were also shot but were treated and released. I'm numb at this moment. Josh came into this world April 15th, 1979, and on this day was taken from us. Rest easy, my son. That was his father's post. The suspect, who has not been named, was also killed in the exchange of gunfire. The sheriff's office said that the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension will handle the investigation of the incident. Several members of Owen's family are in law enforcement. He, Merrill, and another officer were recently honored for their life-saving actions during a house fire last November. Merrill's family issued a statement saying that the deputy is okay physically. He's hurt, but he's going to be okay, but he's devastated. One of his best friends died tonight. Owen had been with the Pope County Sheriff's Office for 12 years, and he leaves behind a wife and son. Back to Alabama. An Alabama woman is dead and her husband's in custody for her murder after a 5-hour standoff on Saturday night that included the couple's 4 children in the home. Fultondale police responded to the home just after 12:30 p.m. after one of the children ran outside, told a neighbor to call 911 because of something going on between their parents. When the police arrived, they found the woman at the front of the house, but 2 gunshots fired from within forced them to retreat. Police say they believe the shots were fired by the husband. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and the Gardendale police responded by 4 p.m. The 4 children had been released. After more negotiations with the man inside, police fired 4 canisters of tear gas into the home, and they entered, finding the man still holding a gun. Officers used a taser on him before they took him into custody, and inside they found his wife, dead from gunshot wounds. The children, ranged in age from 5 to 12, were taken by relatives who were on the scene. Police have not released the names of the suspect or the victim. Crazy. Two Massachusetts men reported missing earlier this month have been found dead early Saturday in a storage unit in Boston's Brighton neighborhood. Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan said on Sunday that Leonid Volkov, 37, was arrested and charged with murder in the deaths of Pavel Vekshin, 28, and Kirill Shukin, 37, a married couple from Medford who knew Volkov. Friends and co-workers reported the couple missing on April 9th, but they had not been seen since March 30th, Medford police said. Ryan said that both men were stabbed to death. Their bodies were put into rubber storage bins. Shukin's body was dismembered, and the parts were distributed among several bins. Hold on one second. Volkov has so far been charged with 1 count of murder, but Ryan expects more charges against him. He was arrested Saturday night after investigators executed a search warrant at the U-Haul storage unit, which Volkov had rented in Shukin's name, Ryan said. Additionally, investigators found bleach, rubber gloves, and other items traced to Volkov in the unit. Ryan told reporters that Shukin had been a guarantor on the lease for Volkov's apartment, but had declined to continue as guarantor on the lease extension. As a result, Volkov was evicted. The district attorney said that investigators believe Volkov met with Shukin on March 29th at a U-Haul truck rental. Volkov was in a U-Haul truck rental that Volkov was driving. A person believed to be Volkov was seen on surveillance video leaving the apartment building where Shukin lived. Medford police later located the truck at the Brighton storage unit where the bodies were found, and according to Ryan, Volkov was using the truck to transport items from the victim's apartment to the storage unit. Volkov is scheduled to be arraigned on Tuesday. Okay, another very weird case over here. Oregon, which is quickly really going up there in the ranks with the true crime stuff. An Oregon man allegedly murdered his mother at their home last year, according to charges that were brought by prosecutors just weeks after his sister and her husband were also found dead. On Friday, 30-year-old Robin Hathorn pled not guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder and several other charges in connection with the death of his 62-year-old mother, Teresa Terry Hathorn. Teresa was a beloved local educator, was found dead November 9th inside her home on Yellowstone Drive in Monmouth, Oregon. Investigators at the time deemed her death suspicious. Authorities alleged in court documents that Robin was attempting to rob his mother and accused him of stealing her vehicle and identity. Robin's address was listed as the same one belonging to his mother, suggesting that he lived with her. We've investigated it, and we have probable cause to believe that he did murder his mother, said the Monmouth Police Lieutenant Matt Olafson. Following Teresa's death, her daughter, 37-year-old Callie Lou Roque, was named her personal representative as part of a probate proceeding. On March 30th, Callie and her husband, Juan Roque de la Guardia, also 37, were found dead in their home in Salem, Oregon. Authorities have not said whether they believe the couple's death is linked to Teresa's murder, but the investigation is ongoing. Police do not believe Robin could have killed the couple because he was arrested less than 10 days after Teresa's death for strangling and assaulting a man in 2021, for which he was convicted in February. Both mother and daughter worked in education. Teresa was an award-winning English language learning teacher and directed migrant education in the Dallas School District. She made everyone feel welcome and feel okay, and I just hate that the world doesn't get that anymore, said her daughter, Callie, in November. A GoFundMe page that was raising money for the family described Teresa as a doting and caring grandmother. Known as Waga to her 6 grandchildren, she leaves behind a massive void that can never be filled. Waga was the ultimate hands-on grandmother, cheering on at the football and soccer games, trips to the zoos, beach, train trips, school pickups. Her family was the center of her universe. Not only was Terry the ultimate grandmother, she was an educator and a staple to the local community. Robin also faces charges of robbery, identity theft, and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle in connection with his mother's death. Questions about Robin's mental fitness have been raised in court, and he is expected to be back in front of a judge on April 24th. Craziness. Okay, so that brings us to date on that. And let's see what we have over here. Two people were, let's see here, Florida woman stole. Oh, what is this about? Let's see. So the Florida woman who stole $2.8 million from a Holocaust survivor in a romance scam pled guilty. So let's get this woman. I know we've seen her picture around. I think this is the one that Florida woman who lived a life of luxury with $2.8 million that she swindled out of an 87-year-old Holocaust survivor in a romance scam pled guilty on Friday to 1 count of wire fraud. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York announced. Peaches Sturgo, 36, faces up to 20 years in prison when she's sentenced on July 27th. This conduct is sick and sad, said U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. Using the millions in fraud proceeds, Sturgo lived a life of luxury, purchasing a home in a gated community and a Corvette, taking vacations at hotels like the Ritz-Carlton, and buying thousands of dollars of designer clothing, while at the same time causing her elderly victim to lose his apartment. She met the victim on a dating site several years ago and then started asking to borrow money to pay an attorney in early 2017 so that he would release funds from an injury settlement that didn't actually exist, according to the indictment. No settlement funds were ever deposited to her account, but she repeatedly demanded more money over 4.5 years from the victim, who wrote 62 checks totaling over $2.8 million. Sturgo also impersonated a TD Bank employee and created fake invoices from the bank to trick the elderly victim, according to the indictment. Over the course of the fraud, Sturgo bought designer clothes from stores like Louis Vuitton, Hermes. She bought a boat, multiple cars, Corvette, a Suburban. She went on expensive vacations. She stayed at places like the Ritz-Carlton. The victim, meanwhile, lost his life savings and his apartment during the scam. A federal public defender, listed as her attorney in court documents, did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Sunday. Sturgo also agreed to pay $2,830,775 in restitution and forfeit the various luxury items that she purchased. As more Americans turn to online dating, romance scams have been on the rise, and of 73 Americans were defrauded out of a record $1 billion in 2022. That's according to a consumer group, Comparitech. Yeah. Crazy. All right, let's see. It's going to go on. So on Leticia's trial, you were going to see a lot of people, are interested to see if she does some crazy stuff, right? Like if she's going to start that stuff, giving the middle finger to people, if she's going to continue that business, if she might even get crazier. She's obviously, from the video we saw in the back of that van, she's nuts, in my opinion. So I don't know what we're going to say with that. I don't know if we'll see Harley testify this week, or, I think they have a doctor they're going to put on the stand this week. They have quite a few some of them are victims, but witnesses on their list that they have not even called yet. We have Harley, and we have Lena and Landon, and I believe her mother and aunt are on there, as well as sisters. Plus they have experts. They've got that juror issue where the defense wants that juror excused that knew the gun expert that was on there. So they'll have to take care of that, put an alternate in, and what else can we expect? Everybody, is looking for Harley to testify. And it's got to be coming up soon. I would say all that stuff about the fire, there's so many holes in that stuff. She even said that's nothing like a wind burn like that. They've even done tests, and there was just like a burned material on those blankets. Who knows what she was trying to do? Was she trying to create a fire? I mean, she's crazy. She is like so crazy. I just don't even understand how she worked in a school system even for a little bit of time. I'd like to see what happened to her husband, to Harley's father. He's supposed to have, some say he died of an overdose. Others say, I don't know what happened to him. His name is Chance. It's very strange. And if his name is Chance, why is their dog named Chance? That's strange. I mean, Chance is in Homeward Bound. Did they want to name him Chance? I don't know. And I don't know why my stomach is rumbling, because I'm not hungry. I just had a lime pop. So, sorry if you hear my stomach rumbling. Could probably have an apple, but I'll have that later because I don't want to crunch into the microphone. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm probably getting deliriously tired pretty soon too. But what else? Lori Vallow. More of that nonsense. I'm sorry. I'm just so over that. I really am, with listening to her, just audio on that. I'll catch the recaps, but I'm just not. She infuriates me too. We'll see what you definitely want justice for JJ and Tylee, but I think I'm more just look at recaps and stuff. It's too much. It's, what I mean? It's very heavy stuff, and that's why that you have to have a little bit of levity and stuff in there. Otherwise, life's too hard. Some of us have, real stuff going on in our lives besides this stuff, and get so invested in all of this. And we've been invested in this Gannon case and the Vallow case since the beginning, when everyone was looking for all of these kids. And it's a lot, and it's every day, and it's long. And since they're in Colorado, it's almost 7 o'clock by the time on the East Coast when they finish court. Now that the days are getting nice, it's supposed to get a little cooler. I don't know. Today was a beautiful day. I took a really nice long walk with Jasper today, and it was beautiful. It really was. Beautiful day. But I don't know. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat, because we'll be together at 10:45 anyway tomorrow morning. And Lori Vallow, we know all about that. Nick Carter. Let's see what else. Anything else here? Okay. Suspect. Okay, so we talked about, how Richard Allen was getting a transfer. I guess Steven Tyler might be in trouble. Wow, he's finally starting to age, huh? For an SA lawsuit 50 years after the fact. What's up with that? Let's see what's up with Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler recently filed legal papers responding to an ongoing... Let me get a... Uh-oh. Get over there. Responding to an ongoing lawsuit accusing him of SA against a minor in the 1970s. Hold on a minute, my turtle was making noise. I just want to watch him for a second. I don't know, it sounded like he was blowing bubbles or something. It was weird. Buddy. Buddy. Hold on, I want to see what he's doing. What's he doing? Buddy. What are you doing? What the heck? What are you doing? Alright. He's fine, he's just like talking. I don't know what he's doing. He's talking. Oh, my poor little tomatoes, I'll make you all better tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to go over all of my plants. I have to do a bunch of pruning on pineapples and a bunch of really deep watering. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Okay, I have to take my phone around and listen to the trial a little bit from my phone so I can get some stuff done. Okay, so Steven Tyler recently filed legal papers responding to an ongoing lawsuit accusing him of a SA against a minor in the 1970s. The music legend is one of 50 John Does included in the case filed by Julia Misley, formerly Holcomb, who began dating Tyler when she was 16 and he was 26. As further information emerges about Misley's story, more fans are beginning to see the Aerosmith frontman in a new light. Oh dear. Following the temporary lifting of the statute of limitations in SA assault cases, Misley filed a lawsuit involving 50 John Does. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, the lawsuit states that Tyler did not meaningfully follow through on guardianship promises and instead continued to travel with, assault, and provide alcohol and drugs to the plaintiff. Misley's mother signed over guardianship to the musician to prevent him from being arrested for crossing state lines with the teenager. In a piece that Misley wrote for LifeSite News, she claimed the decision blindsided her. I asked him how he had got her to do it. Misley wrote, I told her I needed them for you to enroll in school. I felt abandoned by my mother as well as my father and stepfather. The teenager lived with Tyler and frequently toured with him during their 3-year relationship. She described the time in her life as chaotic, spending her time partying and doing drugs. According to Misley, she barely made it out alive. During their courtship, Tyler allegedly expressed his desire to have a child. Soon, Misley became pregnant and the classic rock star proposed. While he was on tour, their apartment caught fire. With Misley inside, despite nearly dying, she and their unborn baby escaped without permanent injuries. However, Tyler convinced her otherwise and pushed her to get an abortion. He told me that I needed to have an abortion because of the smoke damage to my lungs and the oxygen deprivation I had suffered. I said no, I wanted the baby. I was 5 months pregnant. He spent over an hour pressing me to go ahead and have an abortion. He said that I was too young to have a baby and it would have brain damage because I had been in the fire and taken drugs. Despite her insistence on keeping the baby, Tyler manipulated her into having an abortion by taking away the security he provided her with, she claimed. Finally, he gave up and said, okay, you can go home to your mother and have the baby there. I began to feel like life was caving in on me. I had no health insurance or money and did not believe Stephen intended to help provide for our baby or me. He had not been providing medical care for me up to that time, and I believed he was abandoning me as my father and mother had. She ultimately agreed to have an abortion and, despite feeling disconnected from him, stayed with Tyler for another year before she moved back home. According to the lawsuit, the relationship ended after she made a conscious decision to leave and escape the music and drug-addled world, seeking to be free from the sexualized culture created by Tyler and the industry. By then, he was already moving on, dating another woman. Okay, Tyler's recently filed paperwork argues that the complaints against him are entirely or at least partially inadmissible because Miley had consented. It also claims that the Aerosmith frontman was protected from claims as her legal guardian. Tyler's attorneys argued his actions were legitimate, justified, and in good faith. The written response to the allegation stated that the plaintiff has not sustained any injury or loss by reason of any act or omission on the part of Tyler and was therefore not entitled to damages. Misley's attorney, Jeff Anderson, responded in a statement that accused Tyler of gaslighting. He's heaping more pain on Misley and gaslighting her by falsely claiming that she consented and that the pain he inflicted was justified and in good faith. Never have we encountered a legal defense as obnoxious and potentially dangerous as the one that Tyler and his lawyers launched this week. Their claim that legal guardianship is consent and permission for SA. Steven Tyler's 2011 memoir, Does the Noise in My Head Bother You?, shows a man with no remorse over how he treated Misley. The singer boasted about how he almost took a teen bride and that her parents fell in love with him and signed a paper over to him to have custody so I wouldn't get arrested if I took her out of the state. He doesn't identify Misley by name in the book. She's recognizable by his disturbing descriptions, glorifying a relationship with an underage girl. With my bad self being 26 and her barely old enough to drive and sexy as heck, I just fell madly in love with her. She was cute, skinny little tomboy dressed up as Little Bo Peep. She was my heart's desire, my partner in crimes of passion. The case against Tyler will continue through Torrance Superior Court in California. What's going on with this guy, Barry? What the heck is this about? Bill Hader? Wait, Bill Hader from Saturday Night Live is in prison? No. With the first 2 episodes of its final season, Barry shows it's not slowing down. Oh no, that's in the show. Bill Hader is in prison, but he's still in contact with those who have surrounded him for the past, including a phone. Oh, okay, sorry. Never mind. Never mind. Like, Bill Hader's not in prison. Come on, stop it. Let's see what else. Just trying to see if there's anything. Is this for real? Are you kidding me? I guess they said that this must, some guy on Reddit asked others if they sympathized with him for a troubling occurrence in his household, and apparently he did not expect the amount of sympathy he'd receive. When he wrote on Reddit, called, "Oh, that's mildly infuriating," never knew that subreddit, the man attached a picture of an array of dirty mugs and drinking glasses, 15 in all, crammed together on his home's bathroom counter next to the sink. The unclean mugs and glasses were shown sitting next to tissues and what appear to be skin lotions, hairspray bottles, makeup kits, and more. Below the image, the man wrote, "This represents a single week of mugs and glasses that my wife leaves in our bathroom." He added, "I clean all of these every week, and they are back the next. Anyone else feel my pain?" Writing his note less than 24 hours as of the publication time, the man already received more than 70,000 reactions and over 10,000 comments. Among the comments posted about the man's dilemma is this one: "Wife is like this, just dump stuff on every single surface in the house. It drives me nuts. Not surprisingly, her parents are hoarders." Another person wrote, "My wife and I make this joke regarding her stupendous amount of cups used and left partially filled around the house." Still another chimed in with this piece of advice: "Start hiding them. It's what I did for my girlfriend." The person added, "Now she does the same irritating thing, but she can only do it with half the number of cups." Plenty of other individuals raised some clear and obvious questions. Why isn't your partner cleaning them? Why do you clean them? Other people expressed a disdain for the presence of dirty dishes or cups in the bathroom in the first place. Food or drink in the bathroom air just doesn't work for me. Another comment from another person was especially liked by others on the platform. "Too many mugs in the house. She can't leave mugs around if she only has one." A husband and father in the New York City area, who does the bulk of the cooking for his household, had blunt advice for the man: "Just throw those mugs in the bathtub. She'll get the hint really fast when she goes to take a shower or bath." One individual posted a long and complex response to the man's cluttered countertop dilemma, which stood out among the many other comments, saying, "I think there are absolutely some adults who choose not to clean up after themselves because they know their partner, roommate, or parent will do it, and they're just kind of selfish people." He or she went on, "But I also think there's a lot of adults who struggle with household chores due to their upbringing and or ADHD." The person said as well, "It's not an excuse because adults need to take responsibility for themselves regardless of their reasons, but it's often tied up to shame and self-esteem and executive functioning issues that deserve compassion." The person continued, "And it's the kind of thing that can manifest inconsistently. Just because they can be organized at work doesn't mean their disorganization at home is simple laziness. It's a complicated thing." They said, "If someone has a partner like this, I'd suggest trying to make them feel safe and explore with curiosity what's happening when they avoid chores, or are they having trouble executing them properly, while also being firm about the fact that this is something that you need them to improve." The post concluded with, "Therapy isn't a bad idea. If there are things that they need to unpack with a neutral third party," wrote someone else in reply to that. "Wonderfully said." So yeah, that's making the news. And let's see what else we could find there, huh? Let's see. Mildly infuriating. Let's see. I don't know what this is about, just like a lot of pictures. I don't know, I'm not a fan of that. Hold on. Hold on, let me put something else on that's... I'll put this on for you to look at instead of Steven Tyler's face, all right? All right. Let's see. That's better. And let me go to this, so we haven't done this in a while. Okay. My husband, 53, finally stopped smoking after 30 years. Not because of my prodding or refusal to buy him cigarettes, which he called self-righteous, but because he could no longer breathe easily. And that was 2 years ago. Since then, he has gained a lot of weight. He is now obese, according to his body mass index. He can't even bend over to tie his shoes. His father and uncles died young, and I'm worried about him. Still, he expects me to buy him highly processed junk food when I go shopping. I see this as a slow death wish, and I want no part in it. Is it reasonable for me to refuse to buy fattening, sugary treats without nutritional value? He can always buy them himself. And the person that answers says, I sympathize with your worries and even more with your frustrations about your husband. You love him. But your tone strikes me as a bit harsh, and that may not be productive here. In all likelihood, you've made the choice to marry a smoker long after the harmful effects of cigarettes were well known. Yet I detect no hooray in your report that he finally kicked the habit. I hope you can applaud your husband's healthy choices, even if they don't happen on your timeline. Breaking addictive behaviors can be rough, but he did it. It sounds as if he may now be compensating for the loss of cigarettes with sugary snacks. That's not uncommon. If I were you, I would try to shift from policing his diet to giving him more positive reinforcement. Go with your husband to his next doctor's appointment or encourage him to meet with a nutritionist. And this way you can cheer his healthier choices consistent with their recommendations rather than carping about missteps or refusing to be complicit. Your husband knows he's fat. No need to remind him. Find a way to support him, though that may be a big help. I accidentally sent a text message to a friend that was about her. I meant to text another friend that she should sell her car to someone else because the friend I accidentally texted is broke. She replied immediately that she had seen my message and had set aside money for the car. I apologized for my error, and I thought we had smoothed things over. Since then, she hasn't responded to my messages. My instinct is to step up and call her, but my friend is a difficult person. She is needy and often dumps her many personal problems on me. I feel ready to just let this friendship fade. Advice? You say your friend is needy. And the evidence? She hasn't replied to you in weeks after you slammed her in error and interfered with her purchase of a used car. You also say you would like to let this friendship go, but it appears your friend may have beaten you to the punch. And who can blame her after your pot stirring? If you decide to reach out to her again, apologize profusely. I work at a large company. A young man walked by my office yesterday. I've seen him around before. I noticed he was wearing a vetiver, a lot of it, in fact. It didn't bother me. I like the fragrance. But I couldn't help thinking he should be wearing less of it. I didn't say anything. Could I have? Like you, seemingly, I would enjoy nothing more than walking through the world issuing aesthetic pronouncements to strangers. You may want to rethink that sweater. Sadly, though, the mere existence of our opinions is not a mandate to share them. I would feel differently if you had a sensitivity to fragrance, if this guy had asked you for your opinion, or even if he sat next to you all day. As it is, permission denied. My boyfriend's wife died this week. For years, she lived with severe dementia, unable to walk, feed herself, or communicate. I respect that she was my boyfriend's great love and the mother of his adult children. Still, we have been dating for a year and are solidly in love. Some people disapprove, but we think we were respectful of his wife and family. We agreed that I should stay away from him now and from her funeral to keep the focus on his wife. We've had several discussions about what would happen after she died. I suggested he may want to play the field, but he was adamant about being with me. He is grieving now, but what should I do down the road? Let him bounce back into my life or insist he take time on his own? I am not a grief counselor, but in my experience, there is little point in trying to plan grief. It often takes unexpected paths, hitting us harder or later, or just plain differently than we might have predicted. Here you may think your boyfriend had a head start grieving his wife, given her diminished state, but he may be clobbered by grief. He may also feel guilty about having moved on before she died, not that he should. Try to take the future one day at a time. Your relationship with your boyfriend grew out of a complicated circumstance. Now he will be mourning his wife and his marriage and his feelings for you, and your complex relationship may be all over the place. So take care of yourself. No matter what your boyfriend thought he would want before his wife died, he may feel differently now that she has. That's very strange, right? I don't get that. I hope both of you are open to counseling and support groups for those who have lost loved ones and those affected by dementia. I suspect your situation is not uncommon in some of those groups, and I wish you the best as you navigate your relationship amid fresh loss. Okay, my oldest sister is having a big birthday this year. I've been planning a surprise all-sisters trip to celebrate for months. I mentioned it to my mother over the holidays. She has since learned of our weekend agenda and is under the impression that she's invited. I love my mom, but this trip was meant for her grown daughters. Can I tell her delicately that she's not invited? I may be the wrong person to ask. I would give anything to be able to go on a trip with my mother again. In fairness, that's not your situation, though it will be one day. Still, it seems unkind to tell your mother about a getaway with all of her daughters and then exclude her from it. You don't say how she came to be under the impression that she is invited or for how long she's labored under that belief. I would include her in any event. Enforcing your sister's only concept seems mean if it requires barring the woman who connects you all. Next time, shh. For years, I walked the neighborhood with a friend. We met at 7 a.m., we got our exercise in, and we caught up on life. Out of nowhere, she started bringing a dog she inherited when her mother died. The dog is unruly, stopping and starting, peeing on everything, barking at other dogs. Our formerly enjoyable walks have become intolerable. I asked her nicely if she could leave the dog with her husband and take it out later. She doesn't work. She said if I wouldn't allow the dog, she wouldn't be coming either. She dropped me like a stone after 15 years of friendship. What would you do? Look at this from your friend's perspective. Her mother died, and she inherited a dog that needs a morning walk. Rather than waiting for her to get the hang of walking with you and the dog together, though, you suggested she add a second walk to her morning routine to accommodate you. That may have seemed selfish to her. I would call her to apologize. Don't get me wrong. It may not work for you to walk with her and her dog anymore, but you can probably salvage your friendship by empathizing with her. Hang on. My husband's boss, an executive at a multinational firm, came to our city on vacation, and he invited us to dinner. We made reservations at our favorite restaurant, and when the bill came, the boss's husband picked up the check and said, "We've got this." We thanked them and said we hadn't intended for them to pay. The next day, my husband received an email from his boss saying that he just saw the credit card charge, which was larger than expected. He planned to ask the restaurant if there was an error. We were embarrassed. We ordered more to drink than them. So we pulled up the menu online, totaled our share with tax and tip, and sent them a check. It was $37 more than their share. We apologized for not insisting on splitting the bill. Did we do the right thing? Well, you didn't do the wrong thing, but you may have overreacted. In your view, the boss believed he was overcharged by about $40. That seems like small potatoes to make a fuss about, considering he hadn't bothered to check the bill that night before and presumably saw you ordering more drinks. I would have thought he was concerned about a bigger error. A swanky bottle of wine added to the tab by mistake, for instance. You didn't see the bill, though, so we don't know the scale of the problem. On the other hand, if the boss didn't want you to pony up, why would he have shared his intentions with your husband? He could have saved a step and simply called the restaurant. Better safe than sorry, I suppose, when it comes to odd or passive-aggressive bosses. My advice now is to put this episode behind you. You settle up, for better or for worse. Now let's go. Let it go. My husband and I received an email from a club we belong to telling us that a fellow member, part of a married couple with whom we are friendly, had died. Unfortunately, we misread the note and believed that the husband had died, when it was in fact the wife who had passed away. We sent flowers and a warm note to the wife, when we should have sent them to the husband. Now we are mortified. How do we recover from this terrible faux pas and send proper condolences, or is that impossible? I'm happy to admit I am an idiot, if that helps. You're not an idiot. I confess that I winced, though, when I read your email, as I'm sure you did when you recognized your error. Still, I found my way back to the heart of this matter pretty quickly. A friend of yours has suffered probably one of the biggest losses of his life. What's a stray letter or a bouquet of flowers compared with that? Yes, you feel foolish, but don't let your understandable embarrassment upstage your friend's grief. This is not about you. Send another condolence note promptly. Apologize that your first letter may have added to your friend's distress. Then set it aside. Make sympathy for his loss the focal point of your second note. We all make mistakes. It's how we respond to them that tells people who we are. I just learned from the vet that my beloved dog of 13 years must be put down within the next few days. I work at a company that has a compassionate leave policy for deaths in the family, but my boss refused the request of a colleague to take time off when her cat died last year. I think he was wrong, and I suspect I will need a couple of days off and after my dog's final illness. What should I do? I'm sorry for you and your dog. Grief is grief. Take the leave if you need it. Tell your boss or the appropriate manager a family member is dying and I will be out of the office for 2 days. In my view, that statement is wholly accurate. Don't lie, though. That could be a firing offense. If your cold-hearted boss asks who is dying, be truthful. If he then denies your leave, take the days as vacation instead and fight the unjust policy when you are in better shape emotionally. My next-door neighbor, who's a single man, is a traveling salesman. He lives on the road from Tuesday mornings until Thursday nights. The problem's trash pickup is on Wednesdays, which means he brings his trash bins to the curb a day early and then he leaves them out a day too long, and I find this unsightly and rude. Any advice? Yes, as a matter of fact. Most people's lives are hard, as your neighbor's seemingly arduous schedule suggests. Don't make them harder. If this unavoidable issue with your neighbor's trash bins bothers you enough, volunteer to bring them down to the curb and back to the garage yourself, closer to the pickup time. Or you could pay a neighbor kid a few bucks to do it for you, in either case after securing your neighbor's permission. I started dating a new guy 2 months ago. Things have been going very well. I also have $5,000 in credit card debt that I'm working hard to pay down. The subject came up when he asked me why I always use a debit card. I don't want to add a penny to my credit card balance. He comes from a very wealthy family. I do not. Out of the blue, he offered to pay off my entire balance in exchange for a zero-interest loan that I could repay to him over time. This is obviously attractive compared with the 25% interest rate I now pay, but yikes! This is huge. Is it wildly inappropriate that I am entertaining his offer? Mixing business with new romance is a risky cocktail. But that doesn't necessarily mean you should refuse your boyfriend's offer. The two of you should discuss it carefully. For starters, thank him. Even if you decide against accepting his proposal, it probably came from a kind-hearted place. He saw that he could make your life much better at a relatively little cost to himself. The practicalities are easily handled. Create a simple written agreement with clear payment terms to govern the loan in case your fledgling romance sours. The repayment must be independent of your relationship, and also confirm with an accountant that the dollar amount here is too small to trigger any gift tax or to count as reportable income. That leaves my primary concern, which only you and your boyfriend can assess. Will taking this loan make you feel indebted to him beyond the $5,000? Will you defer to him on other issues because you owe him? Will he feel entitled to that deference? If this is a good relationship and you can both compartmentalize, you may be able to handle this extra wrinkle. If not, the loan may cause serious problems. Talk it out together and then decide. My wife bought a relatively inexpensive rain jacket. She liked so much that she bought another one for her sister. It wasn't a special occasion. She just gave her a gift. Her sister returned it promptly to the retailer, and a credit was issued to my wife's credit card. Now her sister says we owe her the cost of the jacket and should send a check in that amount. My wife wants to do it to keep the peace. You can imagine my response. Advice? I agree that your sister-in-law's request is odd. You and your wife don't owe her anything. But do you know what I find even odder? That you want to interpose yourself between two sisters. I get your desire to stop an injustice here, and I think it's sweet that you want to protect your wife from her grabby sister. But there's not a lot of money at stake, and your wife knows her sister better than any of us. If she wants to give her cash to keep the peace in an important relationship, I would defer to her. She'll know better about gifts to her sister the next time. My fiancé and I are having a destination wedding. We chose a reasonably priced resort, but the cost to our guest will still be substantial. In its marketing materials, the resort mentioned 6 free rooms as part of our wedding package, but those rooms turn out to be a cash rebate for the value of 6 rooms that we will receive after the wedding. We had intended to give those rooms to family and friends of lesser means. Any ideas about what to do now without wounding anyone's pride? I don't want to sound like a scold, but you may have hurt your invitees already by inviting them on an expensive vacation they can't afford but feel obliged to take anyway. If you and your fiancé have the resources to pay for this event, you probably have the cash to advance the forthcoming rebate too. Offer free rooms to family and friends just as you intended, even though you won't receive the cash back from the hotel until afterwards. It's simply a timing issue. As you noted, you are asking your guests to shell out a lot of money on flights, food, and drink. I would communicate gently with all of your invitees that you understand entirely if your destination wedding is not practical for them. I have a good friend who plays in a heavy metal band. Occasionally he sends out email blasts announcing shows, but his band usually takes the stage after 9 or 10 p.m. That's too late for me. I go to bed early, and I have little kids who go to bed earlier. I know my friend understands this. Is it better to send regrets explaining why I can't come, or is that ruder than being vague about it? Tell the truth. I think it's kind that you respond to your friend's email blasts. If I were he, though, I might interpret a vague excuse as a lack of interest on your part when the actual reason makes perfect sense. So be honest and rock on with your bad self. "8 years ago, I started dating my now fiancé. A year after separating from my ex-husband. Our daughter was 15 at the time, and she has never accepted my new relationship. And every attempt my fiancé and I make to change her feelings is met with coldness and resentment. She is now 23 and says that I am not respecting her boundaries by trying to bring everyone together. She badmouths our relationship behind our backs. I know this from her sibling. Is there any hope of rectifying this situation, or should I let it go and get married knowing that my daughter will never sit in the same room with the man I love?" 8 years is a long time for your daughter to object so staunchly to your relationship. It probably didn't help that those years coincided with her middle and late adolescence, a tricky time for many young people, and you don't mention how your ex-husband fits in here. If your daughter is close to him, or if she believes there was overlap between your marriage and this relationship that may have affected her strongly. If I were you, I would focus on your individual relationship with your daughter. You cannot reasonably expect to fix a serious long-term problem simply by inviting her to family gatherings with your fiancé. No, if you are sincere about wanting to mend your bond with her, you and she will have to commit to some hard work. If you haven't already suggested going to counseling together, do so. My hunch, which may be off base, is that your daughter's real issue is with you, not with your fiancé. Why would she feel so strongly about a man she hardly knows? I'm not suggesting that you did anything wrong here. I note only that your daughter seems to be suffering from a wound sustained in childhood. Try to help her resolve it. We had house guests. A couple and their 7-year-old daughter stayed in our guest room when they came to town, and when they left, they didn't say goodbye to me. I was working in my home office. I found that strange. Later, my husband and I discovered significant damage to the tinted concrete floor in the guest room. A gouge the size of a quarter My husband suspects the child of having done it deliberately, but I think they dropped something heavy on the floor. We don't want them to pay for the repair, but we would like to know what happened. Can we ask? Why not? The truth can't be worse than the story you've implied that your friends slunk out of your home to avoid confessing the damage they did to your concrete floor. Another more charitable explanation is they left quietly because they didn't want to interrupt your work. I'm a house-proud person, so this episode would have upset me. It may have upset you too. Wait until you can ask calmly. What happened to the floor? I hope they apologize, explain what happened, and offer to pay for the repair. Hard as it may be to imagine, for me at least, it's possible that one of them dropped something and didn't even notice the damage. Some people are like that. I have an old friend who calls me only when she is in her car or running errands. She still works. I'm retired. It makes me feel like an item on her to-do list that she is checking off. Often she asks me to wait while she puts in an order at Starbucks or talks to someone at the market. She often talks over me and misses important things I tell her because she's not really paying attention. I barely feel like making the effort to sustain the friendship. Your thoughts? Hang on. Your old friend has one bad habit that we know of. She multitasks by calling you while doing errands. I agree, very annoying. And you may be a little sensitive about her busyness after your retirement, but I may be wrong about that. Tell her, I don't like talking on the phone with you when you're running errands. You're scattered. Let's wait until you're settled in one place. Isn't asking for what you want better than scrapping years of a friendship? My brother and I are in high school. He's one grade behind me. I'm pretty sure he likes this girl in my class. She would never like him back. Like, not in a million years. Can I tell him it's hopeless? I'm going to assume you want the best for your brother, and this isn't some mean sibling rivalry thing. What do you really know here? You suspect your brother has a crush on a girl, and you doubt she will reciprocate it. That's not much. You will probably have to deliver bad news many times in your life, and I hope you do it kindly. But a major prerequisite is having actual news to deliver, and here you've got only your suspicions. Leave your brother alone. And even if it plays out exactly as you predict, don't take pleasure in being right. Be proud of your brother for following his heart. That. Let me see here. I have what I think is a very good sense of situational awareness. I'm a quick thinker, and I tend to not panic in dangerous situations. My fiancé, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. If I'm being nice, I would say she doesn't have any awareness of danger. If I'm being honest, I would say that she has the survival instinct of a panda raised in captivity. She has no sense of danger around her, doesn't constantly examine her surroundings for things that could be dangerous, and when things are bad, her reaction is to panic and scream. Friday, we went out on a friend of mine's boat, and we got into a dangerous situation. We were anticipating light rain, but we ended up with a downpour, high winds and high waves. While me and the other men were trying to strap things down and keep the boat from capsizing, my fiancé screamed and cried for dear life. She was in hysterics. And I get it. It was a scary situation, but her yelling and screaming that we're all going to die and for God to save us, and literally crying, saying that it's my fault that she's on this boat since I asked her to come with me, None of the other girlfriends or wives were doing this, just her. I'm sure the other women were just as scared, but they tried to keep it in for the sake of the men doing something about it. The downpour was really bad for about 15 minutes. So 15 minutes of wailing while we were doing everything we could to keep things all right. We made it back safe with little more damage than a few spilled White Claws. On the car ride home, I told my fiancé that we needed to talk about how she was behaving during the crisis. Not only was it incredibly embarrassing in front of my boys, but it was distracting, unhelpful, and telling. I told her that today proved to me that if I was in a life or death situation, I could not rely on her to be any help or do anything except make things more stressful. I said she needed to learn how to not panic and be helpful. She got unbelievably mad. She said she thought she was going to die and had reason to freak out. I told her that all of us were scared, but none of us were as ridiculous as she was. We argued the entire ride home, and she is still pissed off at me. I think I was right to say this, especially since we plan on spending our lives together and raising a family, and I can't be the only level-headed one. Am I the a-hole? This is one you can answer yes or no to. Hi, little lady. Good night, little lady. Have a good day, little lady. Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. Hi, 61. You think so a bit, Liz? Tops? Hello, Liz Tops. Liz Tops thinks the man is an a-hole. Liz Tops. Sounds like it, Julie W. said. Okay. My mom was just lost. My mom just lost her housing a week ago, and she has 30 days to find somewhere else to go. She was on state housing and disability, but it was turned off without warning. We are trying to fight it currently, but from as far as I can tell, she's not the only person this has happened to this month. Like hundreds of elderly are going through this. She has lupus, so she has no job. She's 59. We have a 5-bedroom house, 3 kids who have their own room, and then the 4th bedroom is used as a shared office. I suggested letting my mother move in here and let her stay in our office, which would have to be relocated to maybe the attic. His wife immediately said, F no, not happening. I remained calm despite her hostility surrounding the issue bothering me. I tried coming up with every alternative imaginable, and she shot down every single idea. I found it a little weird because her and my mom get along really well. Like, I'm pretty sure my mom likes my wife more than she likes me. So I finally snapped, and I asked her what the F her problem was, and why was she acting so miserable. She snapped back with, last time I effing checked, you're fully aware that I refuse to be around your mother's effing dog. Her dog is not coming here. Her dog is not allowed here. She won't get rid of her dog, and therefore she has no place here. I honestly hadn't even thought about the dog up till this point. My mom is a Rottweiler who's like 2 years old, and he's a big boy. He's Gompy. My wife doesn't like the dog at all. She used to get chased by Rottweilers as a kid, and she's never been bitten, but so she won't give the dog a chance. She admittedly doesn't like any dog outside of, like, retrievers. But I still feel this is rather ignorant. I told her that she was being incredibly selfish for being unwilling to help my mother over a dog. And she absolutely lost it. She said that her life is not going to be revolving around taking care of my disabled mother and take care of an untrained giant Rottweiler. She said that she is not chancing having this mutt around our kids while untrained, and she is absolutely repulsed that I'm not seeing how dangerous it could be. We have small kids. She said I'm an absolute prick, and under no circumstances was she going to put my mother over the well-being of our kids, and if I can do that, I had better see myself out. I think she's over the effing top, to be blunt. Am I the a-hole? And it's added that my wife is in therapy. Therapy doesn't take away fears. She said Mom could move in if she doesn't have the dog. My mom refuses. It's my wife's house. She inherited it long before we were married. She works full-time from home and has the kids. I work part-time in an office and part-time at home. Well, is he the a-hole? Hi, Clint. How you doing today, Clint? Hi, Carolyn P. You changed your name, Clint's Miniatures. So you're saying no, he's not the a-hole? You're saying the husband's not the a-hole, right? The husband, not the a-hole. You're saying the wife is the a-hole? Hey, Juju Positive, thank you for becoming a Sergeant Rambler. You're saying the husband is the a-hole? I mean, the wife is the a-hole. Who's the a-hole? The wife or the husband? Mom should get rid of the dog for sure. She should feel lucky she has a place to go. But Elle, that's her dog. Maybe she really loves her dog. She shouldn't have to get rid of her dog. They're both a-holes, Julie? The wife is not the a-hole? Carolyn P. says the husband is not. Julie thinks they both are a-holes. I don't know what to think. People are just crazy anymore, High 61 says. Sharon says you're not going to have any Rottweiler under this roof ever. Oh, thank you for covering cases. Another Oregon officer murdered, another mother killed by her son. Yeah, I know. Horrible things in the news, Juju. Juju. Definitely not positive, right? Definitely not. Husband is the a-hole. Okay, we're just doing some wind down fun, Juju, because you gotta wind down. We got another hard day of the trial tomorrow. All right, let's see. Okay. My ex, 50 years old, I'm 51, and we were together for 10 years before we got divorced. Our daughter, who's 5, was a year old. We had what I would say was a fairly amicable divorce and stayed very close after. For many reasons, I became our daughter's primary parent, but we do share custody. For 3 years, we've gone on vacations together, usually cruises or all-inclusives. It's been fun. It's been fun for us to spend time together and fun for our daughter to have both of her parents together. Last year, I refer to in my head as the incident. The whole trip. We went on a 10-day cruise. And she was drunk. Oh, this is the husband speaking. Sorry, this is the husband. Okay, the 50-year-old husband speaking about the 51-year-old wife. She was drunk the whole time. There were several incidents of her behaving extremely poorly. On one excursion, she got so drunk, I had to carry her back onto the ship. It was basically having acquired a second drunk child, and this was stressful. On numerous occasions, it really upset or scared our daughter. And this year, I booked a Disney cruise, and I explained to my daughter that it was just going to be her and I this time. I told her we would do a different preferred activity with Mommy a couple of times this summer. She was happy. Next part was telling my ex-wife. I initially said, "Hey, so this year I decided to do something a little different for vacation with our daughter. I will be taking her on a cruise from this date to this date, just the two of us, but I thought that it would be fun to do a few beach weekends and maybe a Universal trip this summer." When she got upset and demanded to know why I would do this, so I told her her behavior on the last trip, which she did know our daughter had been upset about, had made me not want to invite her. This time, she said I was being an a-hole for not inviting her and for being uptight about fun on vacation that hadn't hurt anyone, and I should give her another chance. So, am I the a-hole? You decide. Hi 61 says, "No thanks to cruises. They are a shite show anymore, especially after COVID, and no faith in captains." Really? Okay. Hi 67 says, when the weird gets going, what'd you say? When the weird gets going, the weird turns pro. Huh. Okay. You were thinking about going on the trailer trash. I don't know what that is. Trailer trash. That doesn't sound fun. That does not sound fun. We go on the celebration tour. Let me see. Al says, "Give her another chance. Everyone deserves one." Who's Tammy? Who is that, Nicole? Trailer trash? Who is that? I don't know what that is. Is that someone from YouTube? Oh, a comedian. Okay, I thought it was somebody from YouTube. The blonde lady who likes Reba. The blonde lady who likes Reba. Isn't that... I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Elle said she needs a second chance. She's a comedian. Okay. She does mukbangs? All right. Well, maybe you'll have a fun time. She has a YouTube. Oh, she does. Okay. Chelsea Lynn. That's Tammy? All right. I hear you. So, only L is answered. So am I, Julie W. But can we get back to the Disney cruise and the not letting the wife on because she got drunk on the last cruise? Nicole, is he the guy the a-hole or not? Back on task. Should he give the wife a second chance, or is he an a-hole? Oh, yeah, well, that was the guy. Sarcastic one, hello there. Says the guy is not the a-hole, that he should leave her home. She had one chance, she blew it, that's it. There are no second chances in this guy's book. Buy the ticket, take the ride? Not the asshole. Carolyn P. says, no, not giving you a second chance. She's a one-chance Carolyn. Sharon's a one-chance Sharon. You don't do it. Not getting another chance. You're not getting it. Lisa Hell. No, you've got one chance and you blew it. One chance and you blew it. So anyone new going on the celebration trip this year, you see what Sharon says. You blow it, you're gone. You won't be invited back. Okay. Mary Warren, good to see you. We missed you at the auction yesterday. No, but give her a second chance with conditions. Okay, see, Mary's a little more like, oh, all right, you got a second chance. You blow it, you're gone. Okay, all right. Margot, watch yourself. Sharon's not giving any second chances. You don't trust anything Disney, so you won't be there. Bada bing, bada boom. Right? Okay. All right, let's go and see what else we can find out. Months ago, my wife and I got a great deal on a family cruise. I guess cruises are in right now, okay, like on this thing. With our kids up to Alaska in the late summer. Since that time, I have paid off that cruise. I've scheduled and paid for a number of upgrades, including tours, drink packages, etc. Flights from our home city, hotel arrangements so that we can tour the port city, airport parking, etc. I have also made arrangements with family in the port city to visit with them for a few days before our sailing date. My wife, on the other hand, has been watching cruise videos on YouTube. Oh gosh, YouTube of all places. Who goes there, right? Hold on a minute. Let me get you another picture. Since we're talking about cruises, let's just do something. Let's do something fun. It's a cruise. Okay. My wife, on the other hand, has been watching cruise videos on YouTube, as well as talk to her friends that are in much higher income brackets than we are, and decided the ship that we're sailing on is too small. It's the smallest ship in this particular line's fleet. She has been on one cruise in her life on a similarly sized ship and had a good time, but apparently this one does not have enough activities to keep our kids out of her hair. It has a kids club, an arcade, pool, etc. But what do I know? She has looked online for other cruises and found one on the same line that is leaving the same port a day earlier and is 3 days shorter that she likes better. She has asked, it feels more like a demand, that I call the cruise company and change over to this trip. And then I change everything else associated with it. Flights, car rental, hotels, time with family, which will now be a day less, etc. I looked at just the base cost of the new cruise on the bigger ship, and it would cost us significantly more for a new, shorter cruise equals the old, longer cruise with all of the tours and add-ons added on, I think that our budget is being stretched by this trip as it presently is scheduled. My answer was and continues to be a very firm no. She is now upset and thinks I'm being unreasonable. Code for a-hole. Am I the a-hole? Well, what do you think? Is he the a-hole or not? She went on YouTube, of all places. Go ahead. Is he the a-hole? He has that cruise paid off. He's got the upgrades. She has to go on to YouTube and see that she wants a shorter trip on a bigger boat. Okay, Liz Top says no. Lisa L says no. High 61 is just laughing. Al says no. Sharon says no. Carolyn P says no. Okay, it's a firm no then. I agree. She's being a big baby, getting a shorter trip. Okay, I am a 28-year-old female. I have a close friend who's 30, also a female. She is a vegan. I don't care and always make a huge effort to accommodate, and as a general rule, when she comes to stay, my husband and I will prepare and eat whatever she eats. My only issue is that she can be a bit self-righteous about it. We're close. She has been there for me when literally no one else was. I love her dearly. But bear in mind, she has alienated and hurt other friends based on her vegan opinions. She is opinionated and very much feels that she is better than other people based off her decision to not eat animal products. We met up recently at my house with a few other friends, and were drinking and generally enjoying herself when I noticed that the wine she had opened was not the specific vegan wine I'd bought for the weekend, but rather one that was just in the fridge. I quickly pointed it out to her, but she had already had almost a whole glass. At this point, she goes off on one that all wine is vegan, and I am being ridiculous. If I have an issue with certain wines being drunk, it was a pricey one that she was drinking, but that wasn't the problem. Then it shouldn't have been in the fridge. I pointed out that actually not all wine is vegan. She can drink what she wants, but I thought she'd want to know it wasn't vegan. She is now bad-mouthing me for calling her out and being a know-it-all on her diet in front of other friends. I assumed as a vegan she would want to check these things, but maybe I was an a-hole for leaving that bottle in the fridge when I knew she was coming and correcting her in front of other friends. So is she the a-hole? Is she the a-hole? Norma says, hi Norma. No. Sarcastic one, no. Hi Deborah Barron. I don't know what makes it vegan or not. I really don't. I'm not a vegan. She's just one, period. Good. I hope you're doing good, Norma. It's good to see you again. You have the other Norma. Every time you guys come in here, I always space on the other one's name, always. And then like it's crazy. It's so bad. All right, Norma, let's see. See where we are. Mary says no, and most wines are not vegan if they are filtered through. Oh, see, Mary Warren knows. Bone. Okay, Mary Warren knows. That's why we have Mary Warren here. Vegan, no meat, no dairy, and some will not eat honey. Well, they shouldn't eat honey because honey is made from bees, right? And they're not allowed to eat honey. I would find if they ate honey, I would say, blasphemer. I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. I think I'm overtired. I don't know, because like I'm not tired now, but I think I'm just getting like to the goofball status. But they shouldn't be eating honey if they don't want animal products. That should include the bees, because they work hard making that honey. And I don't think they should eat it. I don't think they should eat it. I would take the honey away from the vegan table. I don't think there's any vegans going on the celebration, but if there was, I would pull the honey away. Okay, let's see now. I cooked a nice Sunday dinner. I'm a single dad, 44 years old, to 2 kids, Audrey, 16, Emily, 12. We have a great relationship, but Audrey, the 16-year-old, can sometimes be rude and demanding, saying cruel things casually when she's displeased about something or in a bad mood. Emily, her little sister, looks up to her, often mimicking her behavior, which obviously worries me. So anyway, I cooked a nice dinner on Sunday, and Audrey stormed downstairs in a bad mood for who knows what reason. She was being a downer, whereas Emily and I were being cheerful. I asked her to improve her mood, please, instead of ruining the dinner. She turned to me and unleashed her anger. To quote some of her elegant words, "Can you stop lecturing for once? You're annoying as F, and seriously, you're the one who ruins everything." I stood up, took her plate, and dumped it into the trash can. I told her since she can't bother to show me any basic respect, she should start providing for herself from now on. She said she'll make cereal, and maybe I was an a-hole. I said, no, girlie, that's my milk. And she should get a job, get her own groceries. I don't feel like I yelled at her. I felt I spoke calmly, but when she realized I was being serious, she got upset, started crying, and ran to her room. We haven't talked since. Obviously, she's mad at me. But now my younger daughter is mad at me too, saying I acted like a huge jerk to her sister. I, of course, don't see it that way. I don't tolerate being spoken to with such disrespect, and it did hurt me a lot hearing Audrey say these things to me that were uncalled for. So, was I the a-hole? Obviously, I'm not winning any Dad of the Year award, but I will be winning An A-hole of the Year award? I don't know. Was he the a-hole? And I forgot to add that my daughter also made a snide comment about the food not looking good, which is what triggered me to throw her plate away. I did ask her twice at the beginning what was wrong and why she was in a bad mood, and her response was a sarcastic, "You wouldn't get it." I asked why not, and she just sighed. Of course, I'm not going to starve her. I was just trying to make a point. Vast majority of you, do you think I'm the a-hole or not? Norma says no. High 61 says no. LOL. L says no. She used the F word. Carolyn P says no. High 61 says don't cook for anyone else but yourself from now on. But he doesn't even want her to use the milk or the cereal, High. Okay? And he did edit it because he felt that people thought he was the a-hole, and he said that he will give her the milk and the cereal. Deborah Barron says not the a-hole. But you know what? The internet says he is the a-hole. Isn't that funny? Do you want to hear some reasons why they think he's the a-hole? Let's listen to them. See how they differ from what any of you are thinking. Someone says, "You're the a-hole. It's pretty clear where you went wrong as well." I asked her to improve her mood, please, instead of ruining the dinner. If someone's in a bad mood, asking them to not be in a bad mood and accusing them of ruining something is probably not the right approach, and for that, you are the a-hole. Someone said, "You are the a-hole. 1,000%. This approach has not worked once in history. She's freaking 16 on top of the thing. Give it up." Another one said, "Would someone saying smile, you would be prettier if you smile or snap out of it, have never worked." And someone said, "Or calm down." Someone said, "Curious. What approach does work? My 7-year-old daughter comes to dinner in a bad mood, and after about 5 to 10 minutes of her yelling at me for cooking the wrong thing, or my son, 10, for making some annoying noise like clearing his throat, I tell her she can go to her room until she has calmed down. She's not in trouble. She just can't behave like that at the dinner table. If she stays at the dinner table, my son spends the entire time on the verge of tears." During the 5 to 10 minutes of screaming, I ask her what's wrong, and she tallies up a list of things that piss her off. When I ask her if there's anything I can do to help her, she comes up with unreasonable demands, like let her eat candy for dinner or buy her whatever Roblox thing she's asking for. Everyone has bad days, including me, but that does not mean that we can make people around us suffer as much as we are. I'm specifically talking about telling a child who is ruining dinner, "You're ruining dinner." I'd say, "You're the a-hole" to the original poster for throwing the food away and not letting the daughter make her own cereal. Someone said, "Telling her to go to her room is a good approach. Make sure you do it. When you do it, you say something along the lines of everyone is entitled to their emotions and bad days. You are allowed to feel your feelings however you want, but you cannot take them out on other people. If you need a break to think about some things that you need to take a breath, you can go to your room. When you feel better, you can come out, have dinner with us." Basically validate what she's feeling, tell her strong emotions do suck, and she has a right to feel them, but you can't direct them at other people. So if she needs a break, she can take it by herself and come back when it's over. Let's see. Someone said, she should not try going through puberty until her dad gets his shorts on straight. It's just really inconvenient to treat your child like actual people and not poorly trained Irish setters. My mother used to pull this crap on me whenever I wasn't visibly happy or excited enough to suit her. She'd call me a party pooper, even sing a little song about it, and tell me no one wants to be around a sourpuss. It left me feeling unable to express anything less than positive emotions around her, like I always had to be on, even for family dinner. I had to perform happiness, lest I rain on anyone else's precious parade. She also couldn't understand when I didn't open up to her about my problems. At least she never threw away my food. Hold on a minute. One second. I'm trying to find something here because it's silly that we have a cruise on. You know? Okay. That's better. Okay. Someone said, "Wow. This triggered me a little reading that. My mom would do this to me all the time, and I even wasn't in a bad mood. I was just quiet. It was guaranteed to put me in a bad mood instantly. You are the a-hole. The kind thing to do is tell your daughter something along the lines of, we see you're upset and going through something. We're here if you want to talk. And then maybe leave her alone. Not saying having an attitude and using that language with you is warranted. But she's 16 and going through something. Give her some grace. Maybe in time she'll feel like you will get it. Instead of being afraid you'll potentially blow things out of proportion and throw away her dinner. You'll be surprised how far kindness can get you." Someone said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not the only one that's had this exact experience. Like, gee, thanks, Mom. Singing a song to mock me is really going to improve my mood." Absolutely. Someone said, "My parents never sang the song, but otherwise, same thing. If I wasn't performing happiness well enough, I was scolded for taking my mood out on everyone, not for snapping at people, not for being rude, just for being quiet and withdrawn. And guess where that landed me? 37 years old and still in therapy because I literally cannot let myself cry or ask for help when my depression is really in a bad way, and it's almost gotten me killed a couple of times. Thanks, Mom and Dad." Original poster. This is only one of several long-term, effed up possible outcomes of demanding your children bottle up their emotions so you don't have to deal with them. Maybe go take a parenting class or something so you can learn how to teach healthy emotional expression and self-regulation. Solidarity. I'm 39 and working through all of it in therapy. Like, sorry, I have inconvenient emotions sometimes. My mom even acknowledged that from the start. I was never an emotionally demonstrated person. I could be having the time of my life and only just crack a smile. Most of the time she badgered me. I was in a totally neutral mood to start out. I mean, yeah, you're the a-hole. I get being annoyed and I get punishing her, but you threw away her dinner and told her to get a job to provide for her own food and wouldn't let her eat? Like, my dude, when was she going to get a job? On the spot to get a paycheck to buy dinner? I don't know. I don't really agree with the withholding food from a kid like that. You're the a-hole. Throwing away or withholding food should never be used as a punishment or used to make a point. You're a grown adult who apparently can't regulate your emotions. Example, throwing her food away because you're mad. How do you expect your kid to? Should she talk to you that way? No. but she probably is going through something and could use some grace. I'm sure you have a lot on your plate also, but you're the adult. She's your kid. I'd apologize and work on your communication skills. At the end of the day, though, she's a kid. As the parent, her provider, withholding food is abuse. You don't know if that's how she always acts. Even if the original poster mentions it is, there are several things that should be asked. Why is she acting out? Is it because she's mimicking learned behavior from her parents? Is it because of traumatic things happening in her life, a combination of them, or any other reasons? Parents are always too quick to write off kids instead of looking at the underlying causes or reasons. And yes, I have a child. I was also a kid who acted out, but was dealing with abuse at the hands of family members and other people in my life. Don't let children fall through the cracks by labeling them as just being bad. Take the time out to find out what's really going on. Don't just ask a couple of times, then blow up. Trust goes both ways. The more you support their actions, instead of just words, the more likely you'll be able to have a more open dialogue. It could be just teenage angst. I get that. But for me, anyway, your child should be important enough to take the time to find out if it really is or not. Okay, so now that you've heard this, what do you change your answer now that you've been admonished by the internet? You've all been admonished by the internet. Do you change your answer? Let's see. Liz says, I would put her food in the fridge. I would probably eat it myself later. U12SI7 said, I did just that. I got a job at 17 and I moved out at the beginning of my senior year and still graduated at a 3.9. Deborah says, cursing and calling me an a-hole would have landed my kids' dinner in the trash too. Someone said, Hi 61 said, I hate wasting food. I always feel bad when food is thrown out. Me too, Hi. Carolyn said, no way am I changing my answer with these silly people from the internet, right? Okay. Deborah says the crying is meant to manipulate. Let the daughter cook next time. Hi 61 says, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Parents who allow themselves to be controlled and brats would disagree with him. People are just way too critical, Hi 61 said. Milk is just milk, but if she's going to trip every time you cook, Hi 61 said. Al says she's not changing her mind either. And Julie says no. Oh wait, Julie thinks he was an a-hole. Julie, wait, Carolyn P. Hold on a minute. Do you, Carolyn P., think the father was not an a-hole? And Deborah, but Julie, you say you're not changing your mind. You said he was an a-hole? Because most of you said he wasn't an a-hole. Right? Am I wrong? Hi, Pudding. Did you guys say... You have to write down NTA for not the a-hole and YTA. Because it's hard to decipher what you're saying. I know Deborah is saying that he wasn't the a-hole. And she would throw that dinner in the trash as well. And Liz Top says she would put it in the refrigerator and she would probably eat it later. Elle says he's not. I apologize. I think he was an A. You think he was an A, Julie? Okay. Carolyn says he's not the A. Carolyn, will you start covering the Daybell case soon? Pudding, I'm covering the Leticia case. There's hardly anything right now for us to cover in the Daybell case. I did go over the I did a couple of nights ago talk about the testimony of Melanie Gibb and, you know, how they thought the kids had to be burned and or bound. I did do that, and about the phone call, but it's just audio only, and they're not even letting us see her, and we have to look at these courtroom sketches, and it's just, we've got so much going on with Leticia. I mean, you don't like the Leticia trial, you're not, I don't know, I'm just something about, I'm much more invested in the Leticia Stalk. I mean, I will cover like I said, I'll cover the witnesses or whatever for the day, but I pour myself into it, and it's just too much. You know what I mean? To do too much. I'll probably do it when there's a lull. But right now, I'm so invested in streaming this Leticia trial and then analyzing what's going on in there. And there's only so much of me. It's just something about, yeah, I agree with Julie W. It's just, we have like covered it and everything was out on that case. So much of it we've covered for so long that I'm perfectly happy just going over a short recap and finding out what the heck the verdict is, really, until we get some more discovery, and then I would go over some discovery. But we've already seen police cams. We've already seen, you know, so much in that case. We've seen the interviews. We've seen so much that we've gone over. And like Julie said, it's like ad nauseum. But this Gannon case is like, we're finding out new stuff. You're not interested in the Gannon, about Gannon pudding? Okay, I'll have to go back and rewatch. Yes, I'm into the Stalk case, but invested in the Dable case too. Really, pudding? Really? I don't know. I'm really into the Stalk case. The Daybell couldn't stand when they described finding the bodies of the kids and how it smelled and what the bodies looked like. Yeah. You know, don't get me wrong, pudding. I want justice for JJ and Tylee, and I will cover it, but it's just, we've covered so much of it before, and it's like, I feel like it's all out there. Like, even when we hear the witness testimony, we've heard it all before. Because we've heard, even in the preliminary hearing, what Melanie Gibbs said. And what Lori's niece said. And what Lori's niece's ex-husband said. You know what I mean? There's so much. But with Leticia, we're finding out a lot of stuff we don't know. We're seeing a lot of stuff we've never seen. That's why. Don't be mad at me, Pudding, please. You understand? That's great. Thank you, Pudding. Okay, so we got into that thing with this dad. Julie thinks he's an a-hole. The other people don't. The people with the internet agree with Julie. Okay. Okay, let's say this now. Hey, I'm a 25-year-old woman. My fiancé is 27 and a male, and we have a 2-month-old son. We are overjoyed at being parents, but most of my in-laws are refusing to even see our baby boy because of a decision we made concerning his name. My in-laws have a tradition of giving the firstborn son of every generation the same name. Let's say it's Peter. And this has been going on for about 7 generations already, and they're very serious about it. My fiancé's eldest cousin was the latest person to get named Peter. Every one of his cousins had only had daughters so far, so our baby is the first son of his generation, and consequently should get the name. I have no problem with the name Peter, and would have been okay with naming my son that. Unfortunately, this was also the name of my uncle, who died before I was born. I won't get into details, But it was tragic and it was traumatizing for my family. My father never got over losing his younger brother. My grandmother asked the family not to name any of our future children Peter during her lifetime. My mother-in-law and father-in-law knew about this promise, and at first they seemed to not only be okay with us avoiding the name Peter, but also supportive of the one we chose. However, my grandmother sadly passed away when I was 7 months pregnant. We traveled for her funeral. On our last days there, my in-laws called to offer me their condolences, and then my mother-in-law added if I was willing to think about the name Peter now. Suddenly, they were insistent that the name we chose was awful and that we had to honor the tradition. According to them, they had only agreed to make an exception for us for my grandmother's sake, and had no obligation to keep it now that she has passed. My family agrees that while it's true we don't have to avoid the name anymore, it still doesn't feel right to use it. My fiancé agrees with me as well, but his parents spent the last weeks of my pregnancy trying to change our minds and convince us to use Peter. When our baby was born and we named him what we wanted to, my in-laws were furious that we had broken a 7-generation-old family tradition. Some of them hadn't previously wanted to name their sons Peter, but did it anyway for the family's sake. They said our decision was selfish and that my family should have moved on by now. This has truly nothing to do with whether my family has moved on or not. It just felt like a betrayal to my grandmother and uncle's memories to even consider using the name. My father-in-law offered us $1,000 to change our son's name to Peter after he was born, and that was 2 months ago, and neither of my fiancé's parents have met the baby or seen us since I was pregnant. Most of my in-laws are on their side, and this is causing a huge rift between my fiancé and his family. He assures me he's fine, but I'm starting to feel really guilty about this. Am I the a-hole? Is she the a-hole or not? I was interested. Oh, I did go over Zulima's thing last night. What she said. I remember they gave her immunity. Last night I went over Zulima pudding. I did go over Zulima's testimony and what she said last night. Go back to last night's video. The one after the auction. Everybody says not the a-hole. She is not the a-hole. They need to chill, Mary Warren said. Okay. All right. 7-generation tradition broken. Okay. So my cousin's getting married next year, and she wants to go to Maldives for a honeymoon. Last week, she invited me over for lunch with her parents, and everything was going well when she suddenly brought up her honeymoon, saying that she really wanted to go there, but she couldn't afford it. She then asked me what I thought about it. My husband and I went there on our honeymoon and have been there a few times besides. And now that I think back on the conversation, she probably wanted me to back her up on how expensive it was. I interpreted it as she wanted more affordable options so she can still go. So instead, I was all, yeah, the Maldives is expensive if you go to a 5-star resort, but there are more affordable options as well. My aunt asked me to explain, and I told her that I've stayed at nice guest houses on local islands with bikini beaches and a floating bar for about $40 a night. And if local island isn't your cup of tea, you can even look at 4-star resorts. You'll still be saving money compared to a 5-star. I hadn't realized that I upset my cousin until I got a message from her stating that she thought I'd have her back on this, and that I completely threw her under the bus. In summary, she wanted to go to a 5-star resort. She couldn't afford it. so she wanted her parents to pay for it. Who was the person that was either on a stand or something, and they were being like really dramatic, and they were like, she threw that person or something under the bus, she ran over them, she picked them up again, she threw them out, she ran over them again, she picked them up, she ran over them again. What was does anybody remember that? Somebody saying that? They were like really, really over the top dramatic. Just coming back to me now, what you just said. Okay. In summary, she wanted to go to a 5-star resort. She can't afford it, so she wanted her parents to pay for it. She brought me in to convince her parents about how expensive it was, so they'd be convinced to help out. I tried to reason with her, but she's insistent. She wants to go to an expensive resort or nothing at all. She also pointed out that my husband and I didn't stay at a guest house when we went for a honeymoon, which is true. We stayed at a resort. She's convinced her parents to pay for excuse me, she's convinced that this makes me a hypocrite. Also, she didn't tell me that lunch was just a way for her to convince her parents to pay for her honeymoon. She just assumed I would agree and whatever she said. I'm not entirely sure how to make up with her. She's still upset at me. Am I the a-hole? It was the dentist's wife. No, it was somebody that they were on the stand or something. I don't know what they are. They were in a show maybe, and they're like, she threw him under the bus, ran him over, picked him up, threw him out again, she said, run him over again. It was like it was a figurative thing. I don't think this person really threw anybody under the bus, but they were going through this big thing, like, they were either saying that you threw me under the bus, you ran over me, then you picked me up, you threw me out again so you could run over me again, then you picked me up and you ran over me with the bus again, and this time you backed up over me. Somebody said that. I can't think of who it was. And I know I commented on it like it was over the top drama. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about a real case, Al. It's like somebody that said something. Okay, you say she's not the a-hole. She's spoiled, entitled, and manipulative. What you're really denying, what you're really doing is denying some child the chance to live a beautiful, advantaged, privileged life. Remember that? That's from Mommy Dearest. I think I just told that to Kevin yesterday, but I was using a cat. Oh no, I told it to Linda. That's what I told Linda about her cat that I said she should give to my daughter. She'd rather it live in the woods. Okay, so we are off on tangents. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Maybe we'll do one more. My son, who's 14, is very interested in crime and the legal system. He said he wants to pursue a criminal justice degree when he goes to college. He watches a lot of true crime content, especially on YouTube. He often has it playing in the background when he's doing chores, so I haven't heard many of the videos. The content is intense, but it's very academic for the most part. His favorite channel is Mommy Ramblings blog. My ex doesn't let our son listen to or watch true crime at his house, which I assumed is because he and his wife have elementary-aged kids at the house. And of course, they shouldn't be exposed to such things. Recently, my son and his dad had a fight because his dad refused to let him watch true crime, even in his room with headphones on. My son says he watches it all the time at my house, especially Mommy Rambling's blog. And my ex called me and said not to let him watch it anymore. I said no, that he can make his own decisions, that he can't make that decision for me in my home. My ex said that that kind of content causes behavioral problems. I asked what kind of behavioral problems he has observed. He said our son has been defiant and argumentative. I said that's just being 14, and I'm not having many problems in these areas at my house, so maybe his parenting is the issue, not mine. He said he's not going to argue with me and that I need to ban the true crime. I said I agree on not arguing, but the answer is no. I'm not going to ban it, especially Mommy Rambling's blog channel. She does crafts sometimes. He said I'm being a stubborn arse and not prioritizing what is best for our son. Is it true? Am I the a-hole? I just saw a friend whose daughter just turned Ethan's age. They were both April babies, and she says her daughter watches tons of true crime podcasts and everything about cartels and everything else. And she's a pretty conservative person, and that's okay for her. So is she an a-hole? Hi 61 says, oh my, what a mess. Is she? Absolutely not. Exactly, Sharon. We're the child's favorite true crime channel. Exactly. That's as it should be. No, Mommy Ramblings is great. She is not the a-hole. The a-hole is the ex who doesn't want the child, 14 years old, to watch it. Okay. I'm glad we agree on that. Okay, I'm a 50-year-old guy and I work in a fast-paced kitchen. And we have been short-staffed for a few weeks. Today I pulled down a pot from a shelf above my head, put it in the sink, and started running water in it. Almost immediately, I realized there was a phone in the pot. I pulled it out and started drying it with a towel. My coworker, a 37-year-old female, went off on me saying I should have looked in the pot before filling it and I need to pay her $1,500 because I ruined her phone. I refused because no reasonable person would put a phone in a frequently used pot in a busy kitchen. And as a reasonable person, I should not expect to find one in there. And she should have insurance on a phone that expensive, so it's on her. Some of our coworkers say, I'm the one who ruined it, and I should at least offer to pay half, so my coworker isn't out the full replacement cost. So now I'm questioning whether I should take at least part of the responsibility, even though she put her phone in the pot without letting anyone know it was there, and I was focused on doing my job. Am I the a-hole? Wow. Okay. Huh. She put her phone in a pot. Who puts their phone in a freaking pot? Why would you put your phone in a pot? You're the a-hole that put your phone in a freaking pot. Okay? Over a stove or wherever it was, in a hot, greasy kitchen. Your phone should not be in a pot. You were probably hiding it. You probably weren't allowed to have your phone in the kitchen. You were probably hiding it in a pot, and see where it got you, right? Right. A germy phone that has E. coli and caca all over it in a pot that would have to be rewashed because she put her caca phone in there. Okay, I can't sleep. I need outside perspective. I'm a 38-year-old guy. My ex-wife Nadine is 39. We have a daughter together, Cassie. She's 19. Now my wife, Alina, is 36. She's due to have our child any day now. And this is Alina's first pregnancy, and her mother is here to help us. And her mother will be present for the birth. Even so, Alina is mildly stressed and uncomfortable, just waiting for the baby to arrive. She has anxiety regarding hospitals and is anxious about the thought of my not being there with her. Trouble is, just over an hour ago, Nadine called from the emergency room. Cassie is undergoing an emergency appendectomy. Still in the operating room as I type, and is expected to be in the hospital for at least a few days. Nadine has her mother with her for support. And when I spoke with Nadine's mother, she asked me when I was flying in. When I spoke with Cassie's mother, then why did they say Nadine? Oh, Nadine's mother, I guess his ex-mother-in-law. Okay. Delicately, I explained that I couldn't leave my wife when our baby is due to arrive at any moment. When my ex-mother-in-law began all but shrieking and calling me a heartless devil, she then threatened to cut me out from updates about Cassie. Luckily, Nadine wrestled her phone out of the mother-in-law's hand and promised to call me back. But before we could speak again, my ex-mother-in-law and one of my ex-sister-in-laws began bombarding me with messages and voicemails calling me a horrible father for choosing an unborn baby over my daughter during an emergency. Nadine is even more stressed, trying to damage control, and while I know that she understands that I can't come right now, she outright told me there's no way she would even let me think of leaving my wife right now. I feel guilty. Her support is gone because her mother and crazy sister. I just know I will wake up with a full inbox because of my in-laws. Alina is still asleep, and I don't want to wake her and stress her anymore right now. I haven't posted here before, so I thought I would give it a shot. Am I the a-hole? Almost forgot. I'm in a different state than Cassie and Nadine. Am I the a-hole? Well, he doesn't tell us how far apart the birth is, okay? When is she due? How far is the distance? If it's 60 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours away, and his wife is not due for 2 weeks, then he is the a-hole, okay? If his wife was in current active labor, that's understandable. This is a first baby. It's probably going to take longer. Listen, she's not in labor. He has plenty of time to get back. Cut it out. Hi, Sassy. Oh, this picture. Sorry, that's when we were doing the dinner. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry that you're upset by that, Sassy. Let me help you out a little bit here, okay? There. All right? All right. She could be late. Yeah, when is the due date? I feel like we missed a lot of stuff. I feel like he's looking for an excuse. If you want to know the truth, I think he's looking for an excuse. He's lazy. He doesn't want to scooch himself. He figures an appendectomy. What's a chance that anything's going to happen? You know what? I don't want to scooch myself. That's what I think. All right. Now let me get another thing on for Sassy. Okay, Sassy. Hold on. Okay, all right, bear with me. This is a weird one. I'm a 25-year-old guy. My neighbor, she's in her 20s or 30s. She's a female. And we each both have quite large plots of land and two-story houses. To her credit, she claims she has some sort of medical issue, and despite the remote locations of her property, she's installed privacy fencing. Our region allows fences to be 6 feet in front and backyards. However, my second story sees into her yard easily, and it's also where my guests and I hang out most often. My neighbor likes to garden, but her physical activity apparently drains her so badly she can't stay awake. I'm honestly skeptical as how this works. Most of the time, she makes it to a hammock, but when she does, it's extremely startling. But when she doesn't, it's extremely startling to see a woman lying in the grass. She actually wakes up after 10 or 20 minutes and goes right back to her gardening, only to take another nap in about an hour. When we moved in, she warned us while introducing herself, but I made some gentle suggestions, such as leaving a door open so it's easier for her to make it inside, moving her garden plots closer to her house, or even expressing concern that her hobby is detrimental to her health. Over the months, and she ignored each one. I can't help but feel like she's doing it for attention. She did have some sort of netting installed that helps a little for her fruit trees, but I'm still tired of having that split-second reaction to thinking I'm seeing a corpse outside on any given day. My friends have basically told me, mind your own business. I've pretty much ignored it for the past few months, and there's been no improvement at all. Am I the a-hole, or would I be the a-hole if I started expressing my dislike for this behavior more strongly? I know, Mary. I can't imagine. Oh, that's just Edna. She just tuckered out, taking a nap on the grass. Oh my gosh. You didn't hear. What the freak were you doing, Al? Al, this man he's 25, and he has a neighbor who's in her 20s or 30s, a female, and they both have land, and she installed a privacy fence, but from his second story he can see over her privacy fence, and she has some kind of a physical disability, whatever, and she told him that she gets tired really quickly and she has to take these little like naps, but sometimes she doesn't make it to a hammock or inside the house, and she wants to do this gardening outside, okay? And so she'll do this gardening outside, and then this tired feeling will overcome her, and she will try to get up and go to the house, but she doesn't make it sometimes, and so she just ends up laying in the grass, and she looks like a corpse, and he likes to entertain, and he just feels it's odd to look over there and see a woman laying down, and she does that for 10 or 15 minutes, and then she gets up and goes right back to her gardening, and then when the feeling comes again, she will either make it to the hammock or inside the house, and maybe she won't. And he wants to know if he should just leave it alone or if he should say something. Julie says he should mind his own freaking business. But let's just say, Julie, that she did have something that caused her to collapse in the grass, and then he didn't get the help she needed because he just thought she was taking her lawn nap. It could be narcolepsy. I'm really not sure, Sharon. He didn't specify, but, you know, I mean, I don't know. But what could he do, right? I don't know. I mean, maybe don't look over there. I don't know. I don't know. Don't look over there, maybe. Leave it alone. It could be worse. She could be naked. Yeah. Well, okay. All right. I have to. Does she read? Yeah. I just put that in there for some emphasis, Julie. Just in that kind of a mood tonight. All right, but I think we're going to call it a night. We're going to be together again at 10:45 in the morning. We're going to be paying close attention to Leticia. Leticia's middle fingers tomorrow. All right, and let's see if she's flipping any more birds if she wants to get. I wonder if she knows about Darrell Brooks Jr. and his antics in the courtroom. Because I think if she did, I think like at this point she's got to know this is not going to go well. Now, for her, you know, could she be as disruptive as possible? Figure like, what the heck? He's going to put me in another room. I can hold up the sign. I can be belligerent. I could lock my feet together. You know, like all this stuff. I could be kicking like a fool. I don't know. She might start doing that. I don't know, right? Who knows? Especially if she wants to be insane, right? What if she just started singing show tunes in the middle of the courtroom, you know? Or just, I don't know, just started doing things. I mean, she's already said her peanut butter has threatened her. There were threats written in her peanut butter, stuff like that. She wants to stay in the courtroom. She will behave. Oh, you think so, Julie? Okay. She can still watch. You can't wait for the judge's speech when he sentences her. Yeah, right, Deborah? Mm-hmm. Yes. I hear ya. All right, show tunes. Yeah, I like New York in June. How about you? Okay. All right, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you'll be there. I'll probably be here in the chat, but sometimes I'll be taking my phone and listening because I have to transplant tomatoes. Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming in. Have a good time. Good night. Love you guys. God bless. Prayers for all that need them. Prayers for everyone because we can all use them. And we'll see you. Not the same as being there, right? See you tomorrow. Goodbye.